it is 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get it started. So it is Tuesday, August 26, 2025, and I call this business meeting of the Elizabeth School District Board of Education to order at 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Director Callahan.
Here.
Director Fletcher.
Here.
Director Hunt.
Here.
Director Olson.
Here.
Director Powell.
Here.
All right, let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I move that the board approve the amended business meeting agenda for August 26, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, I move that the board approve the board meeting minutes from August 12, 2025 as presented. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan.
Aye.
Director Fletcher.
Aye.
Director Hunt.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye.
Okay, first up we have our communications, and we have Jonathan Glassburn from the Lowe's store in Parker. Is it
Yep.
Parker?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have been very fortunate. Jonathan is also a parent in the district, and we have an amazing culinary arts program. However, our appliances are as old as the building. And so Jonathan's daughter last year had the class and went home and said, "Dad, we gotta help." So while all of the appliances were working, needless to say, they were 25 years old in some cases. And so Jonathan and his store, Lowe's Parker store 1755, came to our rescue, and over the summer, Jonathan's store provided 5 microwaves, 2 dishwashers, 3 ovens, and a refrigerator to our culinary arts program. So we have a recognition to present that hopefully the store can display with some pride. In recognition of your generous donation to the Elizabeth School District, your support helps enrich the educational experiences of our students and strengthens our school community. With sincere gratitude, we thank you for your commitment to the success and growth of our students. So, Jonathan, if you come on up. You wanna present that?
That's pretty cool.
It is. That is very awesome.
That's crazy.
Oh, no power.
My daughter's in one of those classes. She's so 30. It's like great.
There we go.
Jonathan, would you like to say anything?
Hey, all that I'll say is I'm a parent in the district grade. My daughter absolutely loves Elizabeth High School. She's in volleyball right now, or else she'd be here with me. But great school, great people, right? It's just fantastic. I'm so happy that I could do this and help out. Like that's just tremendous. That's what Lowe's is honestly all about is helping out the community. So there's my little Lowe's plug. But personally, no greater reward than to be able to do something to help future students, my own daughter, this district. So really fantastic, and thank you very much.
Jonathan,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll just leave you guys to it.
Okay.
You have a nice
Thank
evening.
you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. Next one is for Amber Sorgan. She is unable to be here tonight. Amber is principal at Singing Hills. Amber, unfortunately, has had an amazing job opportunity. And while we don't want to stand in the way of our employees, it's, you know, she's leaving with my arms wrapped around her knee. But,
All of our arms.
Yes.
Amber has just been an amazing, she's only been with us about 17 months, but Amber has just really set a clear vision and mission for that building, and her staff loves her. And really, the success of Singing Hills has a lot to do with the work, even albeit short, of Amber at Singing Hills. So we do have a presentation which we will make to her in front of her staff on behalf of the board, but it's also a certificate of recognition and recognition of your outstanding leadership and unwavering dedication to the students, staff, and community of the Elizabeth School District. As principal of Singing Hills Elementary, your vision, compassion, and commitment to excellence have left an enduring mark that will continue to inspire future leadership. And so with gratitude and best wishes as you embark on the next chapter of your journey. So Amber's letter of resignation, just I want to read it just so people understand the opportunity she had. I'm writing to let you know that I've accepted a job offer in the business sector. This was not something I was seeking, but is a financial offer that I cannot turn down. The position will allow me to use all of the skills I have acquired over the last 25 years, including building and district leadership, as well as marketing and sales in the ed tech sector. I will continue to support Singing Hills through the next 3 weeks and officially complete my role on September 9th. I will also offer consulting time through the end of September to support Patricia Kaiser and district leadership in the transition. I have worked very hard over the summer and into August to ensure the school year is off to a great start, and have confidence that the staff at Singing Hills will not miss a beat during this transition. I've also enjoyed the time with the Elizabeth School District, and I will continue to support in any way that I can. Singing Hills is an amazing community, and I will miss the staff, students, and parents very much. So again, just hard to see her go, but we are very confident that we have a great team that will continue to keep Singing Hills moving forward. This is a tough time of the year to find a principal, and so we are looking at appointing an interim principal, and then looking at the spring to open that process. And so I'll share a little more as we move forward, but again, just appreciate your support of Amber as well.
Dan,
Yeah.
do you want to fix your mic?
Yes. Should I say that all over again? No, let's not.
All right, next up, we have board member reports. So who wants to kick it off?
I don't have it.
Okay.
Well, this is Nicole Hunt, and I had a great time attending the class training this past weekend.
I think we had that battery died.
Oh, there.
Okay. I was just saying I had a great time attending the class training this past weekend. I feel like there was a lot of material offered there for school board members across Colorado on how to really manage districts well and with excellence. And so I was very inspired to participate in that. Well done. Thank you, Dan, for your leadership in organizing and planning and having so many different unique speakers with different backgrounds who can offer advice and take a lot of questions. I'm looking forward to attending some back to school nights in the district here in the next few weeks, and also visiting classrooms. I'm very excited to see some of this training in action. Dan has offered to take us around and to be able to sit in on classes and see the teachers who got training this summer on, you know, what are all the tools that we have in the classroom in order to engage our students in a direct way, and how that can make a difference for the students. We're getting good feedback from the teachers and the administration that it seems to be working well in the classroom, and so I'm excited to get a chance to see it with my own two eyes, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Just kind of a quick thing on the back to school nights. We had gotten a list of those, and the Singing Hills one was supposed to be on Thursday night, and I understand it's going to be rescheduled because of weather.
Yes.
So just
September
FYI.
2nd, so it'll be Tuesday, September 2nd will be Singing Hills back to school night.
Good. Okay, so good to know, because I didn't know the date, so that's great. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that on September 11th, a group called We the People has asked if they could use our facilities for their kind of once a month meetings. I believe they're once a month.
Yep.
And so we are going to do that, and the first one that will be at the middle school is going to be on September 11th from 6 to 8:30 p.m.
September 11th.
Pardon me?
September 11th.
September, what
Yeah.
did I say?
I think you said December. I
Oh.
heard December. So,
No, we
sorry.
don't plan that. Well, we probably do plan that far ahead, but probably not that we would talk about tonight. Anyway, so that's an exciting thing, and so we would just like for people to be aware of that. And they're going to have a speaker there that night that is going to be quite interesting. I can't remember the young lady's name, but she, I think Turning Point USA, I think is where she's from, and she is kind of involved in trying to get local chapters into the schools for civics and constitutional knowledge. So that will be very exciting. And I think, Dan, didn't you say on September 17th, which is
September 17th is
Constitution Day,
Constitution Day.
we will be hosting at the high school a contest that We the People is going to be running, I guess, so to
Right.
speak, for students to present constitutional presentations, and then there'll be judges, and so there will be some prizes awarded to that for some other classes that they can go to. So those are kind of exciting things coming up. We have talked about that this year that we are in we are celebrating all year long, but this is the 250th anniversary of our country, and so we need to celebrate that all year long. So I'm excited about about the Constitution Day event and about the celebrations all year long.
And with me, I'm still very encouraged and very excited to hear all the positive feedback from the teachers regarding the training that they received and our new initiatives. And you talking, going into the schools and
Yeah.
just seeing how engaged the
Huge.
students
Yeah.
are, and
Yeah.
you know,
Really?
it's quiet and paying attention and engaged, which is huge. I also attended the class event, and it was wonderful. So if, you know, I would say if there's any other board members out there, if you have the opportunity to attend one of these events or sign up, get some information, I would encourage it. There, again, are a lot of great resources, some really good speakers, so thank you for helping out with that.
Sure.
You're up.
Okay, so a couple things. We covered Singing Hills. I was going to announce that Singing Hills back to school night from the list
Sorry.
that the board was provided. That's okay.
Still your thunder.
The forecast for Thursday night is not looking good, and so they have food trucks that come to their back to school night, and so the concern was
I wondered about
that
that, yeah.
that's going to be a little hard for families to actually enjoy that. So food trucks were available to move to Tuesday, September 2nd, and the weather looks a little better off in the distance. So fingers crossed that Tuesday will be a better evening and a chance for parents to come and meet teachers and get to hear some of the great things that are going on in that building. I will say, again, just visiting schools, the quietness. We had a preschool parent come to Running Creek for assessment of their preschooler, and it was so quiet that the parent said to Pauline Altagrande, you know, there's no school today? She said, no,
Wow.
there's school, kids are in the classrooms, and it was that quiet, that students were that engaged in the learning activities that were going on. Visiting middle school classrooms, visiting our high school and Singing Hills. I was in every Singing Hills classroom today. Just to see kids actively engaged, it almost feels like they were never gone. I mean, this is second week of school and kids are actively engaged already. So we're excited, and again, looking forward to the results from that. My first superintendent forum is September 17th. And so that is here in this boardroom from 6 to 7:30. It's a Wednesday evening. So do want to invite parents who are interested. It is, again, it's not a dog and pony show. It's not me presenting, it's me listening. So we've had so many amazing initiatives start as a result of our superintendent forums. Our dyslexia initiative is probably our crowning jewel that we've talked about often. We had a parent come to really talk about her journey with her child and dyslexia, and certainly something I'm passionate about as well. So we were able to link resources that she had and get them into our schools. And here we are today with Take Flight Therapy in all three of our middle and elementary schools. So it's exciting to see that. Auto building. We are buttoning up the inside of the garage. We did get final approval on the alarm, which was our last thing that we had to get approval before we could cover everything up. Drywall will be going up very shortly, So we are looking forward to a grand opening, and that's something I'll keep the board up to date on. Sometime in September, we're hoping to hold a grand opening. All of the donors who have been so generous in this project to get them back out to see the fruits of their labor. And so that's exciting to be there. I know there are people in the community who have said, what's taking so long? We don't go through the county or the town. We have to go through the state. And we are one of 178 school districts in the state of Colorado who have to go through the state for any building permitting. And so we get into the queue during the summer as we were really getting busy. Needless to say, the queue was busy for everyone. And so we had periods of time where we couldn't do the next step until the state came out and signed off and said, okay, you're clear to go. And so I know people are frustrated. We are too. We would have liked it done 2 years ago. But it is a governmental bureaucracy at its best. And so we have to deal with it. And I have to thank Justin Henry, our CFO, who's really kind of taken the bull by the horns and agitated a little when he needed to get things moving. And so I do think that this is going to wrap up sooner than it would have had it not been for Justin's work. So.
When did you say the grand opening might be?
Sometime in September.
September.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
We want to make sure drywall is up and bathroom fixtures are in. And that's the process, that's the work that's happening right now. So as soon as we know that there's a clear date when
Yeah.
that's going to be done, we want to get people in. We don't want them to see it half finished. We want to see,
Yeah, oh,
let them see
absolutely.
it as close to done as we
Exciting.
can. We are in the midst of beginning of the year assessments, and so, assessments are one piece of data. So it's really important for parents to understand that their children are taking an iReady assessment in math and language arts. That is one piece of data. That coupled with CMAS, coupled with how students are performing in the classroom, coupled with other data, really gives us a picture of their reading. So parents in the coming weeks will receive those scores home. We'll receive a letter if a student is functioning below grade level, just to alert them. Our iReady reports does give parents some coaching tips of here's some things you can do, here's some things that we need to be doing. And so please watch for those, because it's really important that we all are kind of on top of where our students are and what we can do to support them. And then finally, Frontier, we are continuing to work with our roofer. Of course, the rain, while we needed it, has not been a blessing on that process. We do have a local roofer that has been working to patch and seal the protrusions that had existed. That's a 3-year guarantee that this roofer is providing us. We are in the process right now of applying with History Colorado. We actually received an okay from them to proceed with the full application. So that's a huge amount of money that will contribute towards a full re-roofing of the west portion of the building, which is where most of the protrusions are currently happening. We are working with our partners at Legacy and obviously ICA to look at some other funding sources so that we can couple that with History Colorado, so that hopefully before 3 years is up, we can actually completely replace the roof portion that has failed. So we're excited about that. Again, it's hard. You can't take a roof deck off when it's raining. And so that's been a challenge for us. So again, it's been a great start of the year. Our teachers are just working their tails off. I was at Singing Hills today and heard of some amazing things that some of our paraprofessionals have done with students whose behaviors have started. Honeymoon is over. We're in the second week of school, and just some of their skill in redirecting students and getting them back on track and making sure there's no disruptions for other students, but making sure that they're getting what they need. It's exciting. So I'm excited to have board members join me when you can, to get out and see some of the work that certainly is your hard work paying off. So thank you for all that you've done.
Principals are doing well as well.
I'm sorry?
I heard our new principals are doing well.
New principals are doing extremely well, yes. So anyways, I think that's it.
All right.
A lot on our agenda, so.
Yeah. Next up, we have public comment.
Apologize, I'm sitting back there today for good reason.
Okay, first up, we have Chrissy Howell.
Just gotta push that button down. I think you know the drill.
Push the button. Yeah, it looks like it's on, but
Yeah,
there's
if the
no
num-
light.
if
The
the
numbers are on.
numbers
So,
are on,
hi,
then
I'm
it's on.
Chrissy Howell. approached by a couple of people, but I am here tonight to express a serious concern about the trend of outsourcing critical school services, especially when it comes to our drivers. Building maintenance staff and essential programs like art, music, and specials, possibly. Let's start with our drivers, the people who ensure our students to get to and from school safely every single day. There's growing discussion about outsourcing transportation, and I want to be clear, this comes at a cost far greater than the bottom line. When we outsource bus driving, we lose accountability. These are no longer local employees. They're people who may not know our neighborhoods, our kids, our community's unique needs. Lower wages and minimum benefits drive higher turnover, and service quality suffers. But perhaps most troubling is the safety risk. There have been documented cases where outsourced transportation companies have hired drivers with questionable or even dangerous records. Is that a risk we truly are willing to take? It's even more alarming when we hear suggestions to use rideshare services for special needs students. Rideshare might seem flexible on paper, but it is not a substitute for specialized, properly trained drivers in safe, appropriate vehicles. Students with unique needs deserve consistency, security, and professionals trained to support them, not a rotating cast of drivers in private cars. In the long run, smaller, specialized transportation providers offer better service and often more savings for districts committed to high standards. It does not stop with drivers. Could building maintenance become outsourced, replacing dedicated staff who take pride in our facilities with third-party contractors who may never see the same building twice? These are the people who keep our schools clean, safe, and running. Their work matters. The people who serve our students from the classroom to the cafeteria to the curb are essential. They are the backbone of our district. Outsourcing and cutting these roles might balance a spreadsheet temporarily, but the long-term cost to our students, our staff, and our community is far too high. Let's invest in people who invest in our kids every day. Thank you.
May I address that?
Yes.
None of that is even under consideration, so I'm not sure where that came from. Certainly happy to follow up with you, Chrissy, but there is no conversation.
What about outsourcing special needs?
We've actually always used outsource for certain students based upon where they're going and their needs. So that's been a practice in this district for a long time. We have had some students transported by our drivers. We've had others who have been transported by things like a ride share service, and those are specifically trained people to work with students. So it's not like an Uber. It's individuals who have training. So
We'll have to
yeah, happy to follow up and
talk
chat,
about
but
that later.
but just
I'm
to
hearing
yeah,
other,
well,
um,
please never hesitate to call. I can certainly provide you.
transportation.
Yeah,
Okay.
happy to always
Okay.
provide facts. So.
Okay.
And next
thank
up,
you.
we have Michelle Wazinski.
Before I start, I want to say Amber Sorg is an amazing principal. I got 2 kids at Singing Hills, and they love her. And they literally, my daughter about started crying when she heard that Miss Sorg wasn't going to be there anymore. So,
Yeah.
Miss Patricia should be an amazing replacement, at least interim.
Yeah.
And she'll jump right in with
Thank
both
you.
feet.
No doubt.
I do want to talk to you about some discussions you're going to have tonight about policies. Specifically, KEC Section 2, the board will not permit any individual or group to exercise censorship. And it keeps talking about, should an individual or group ask to have any books or other material withdrawn from school use? I'm super questioning the terms individual or group in that specifically. That should say parents, and that should just be parents. This would also mean that KEC-E should not have community members added to those who can object to materials. It should just be parents, students, and staff. And also, these policies rely wholly on the Curriculum Review Committee, which is appointed by this board, and this opens the door to biased ideology fully entering the process. And I think there should be a discussion between the teachers, librarians, admins, and the chief academic officer first, and that is left out of this equation. And I hope that wasn't intentional. because they should be the first people they're discussed with that. They're trained professionals and they're responsible for that material. These policies are completely removing parents and expert staff from the equation, and I ask you to keep parents' rights first. Respect the professionalism of the teachers and the admins that you've hired because of their experience and their capabilities. And in fact, the state law that is probably the inspiration for this discussion tonight is explicitly says only parents can question materials and the use. And I did send you guys an email with a link to that, just to make sure that we're all on the same page about what I'm talking about. And then to save a ton of time, district money, and confusion, the KEC-R-2, just delete the protocol 1 and 2. We don't need to rely on outside sources to filter any content that we have. Let the staff do their job and keep the parents access to their own child's material. That's all we need to do. If you're trying to open the door for people outside our community to create real issues for us, then this is how you do it, and that's not okay. These are public schools, and you're sworn to uphold the local public school education, not invite outside influences through these doors. And at a time when we're losing some super talented employees, maybe your focus could remain in district and support the kids. 1 year ago today, you guys tried to remove kids' books from my kids' book nook in the classroom libraries that you wanted to take out. And now I feel like you're trying to undermine parents. And it is very disrespectful to the teachers that I'm hearing from. So please, don't do that. We hire well. The people that work in our district really want to work here. They're intentional about wanting to work here. So please respect them and keep parents, let them keep the choice. That's what we need to do. And I know that's a big staple of what this board says, but this is your opportunity to show that. So, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have consent items. So I move that the board approve consent items 8.1 through 8.6 as presented.
Second.
Who was that?
Can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, first action item is our interest-free loan resolution, and this is something we do every year because the funding doesn't come in until springtime when taxes are paid. So,
You want me to come up?
Yeah.
Please, do you want to do a motion first?
yeah. So I move that the board approve the interest-free loan resolution that authorizes the participation by the district in the Colorado State Treasurer's interest-free loan program for the district fiscal year 25-26. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right.
So if I can say something, then Justin will jump in. Again, more than half of our money comes from local property taxes. And so those, as everyone in the audience knows, we don't pay those until typically March is our first payment on taxes. And so half of our money comes in the last 3 months of the year. And so the state has been gracious in doing a number of things. First, they front-loaded their state aid payments for districts like ours at the beginning, which has limited. Many of you will recall last year that it took us a little longer to have to tap the loan interest, and it'll be about the same time we're doing this year. But it does allow us then to ultimately pay that back before the end of June and square that up. So it is no interest, and it is a program that many districts across the state participate in. So Justin has another item, 3 items down, to talk a little about projections, but he may touch on some of that now too.
So kind of jumping into 1, 2, and 3. So the budget that I inherited, the financials, the actuals, while I will not rely on their immediate accuracy, because I know there's some things that weren't entered in the system that I just haven't had time to fix and correct, and the juice worth the squeeze kind of effort of moving forward. We're ending the year on better ratios than anticipated, so we actually show a slight uptick on the ratios from where we anticipated before my tenure in here. what is driving the majority of this is analyzing every expense. I've kind of been a broken record on expense management, and I've rubbed a handful of people wrong because we have to change the way that we're doing things. The amount of expenses that we're not micromanaging, we have to rethink that. So the financials that we've seen reflect about a $1.2 million fund balance at the end of the year for 10. But then that goes into this new sheet that I've talked since I've been here about forecasting where we're actually at. What's cash in bank, keeping the lights on, where are we ending the months at, and what's the true financial health of the district versus the financials that the state requires us to put out are percentage of budget used. Well, that doesn't tell us where we're gonna be at in November. It doesn't tell us where we're gonna be at in December, et cetera. It says where we're at now and how much have we used in a linear fashion. The forecast that I've built, this is the summary of the summary of the summary that I worked in. I can't mechanically print it to show you guys, but I can always send you files of the Excel. What this does is it goes through, this is a working document. When I mean working document, if I get an email that says this expenses or revenue is gonna be higher or lower 2 hours before I leave or an hour before I leave work, I plug this into this spreadsheet and it will forecast its impacts throughout the end of the year on fund balance ratios, everything alive. So this is a true working document. I have the updated one from the time we put these in your packets. It's changed 3 or 4 times because I've got better, newer information that I can run through. The end of the story is last year we received our loan in December. This year I'm going to be asking for it in October. We are at the bottom of the barrel right now, and I do not have enough money to keep the lights on through November. So we have to borrow money from the state at the latest early November. So that's why that resolution for the interest-free loan was so important, is to get that hammered out now. The good news is it'll take me about 2 years to probably not need that interest-free loan, but to build up the balance and cost savings, expense management. I do see the light at the end of the tunnel in about 24 months. So you'll be getting this forecast on a monthly basis in your packets that will show the line items in extreme detail. I can drill down to this to stamps if we need to, but I roll it up just mainly for the punishment of our eyes and on the size of this file that I work in. At the end of next year, if all goes as predicted, we'll have a great ratios and things will show on an upward tick. But I want to caution everybody, we are in the tidal wave at the end of the year. We are still not in a good area. But at the end of the year, it'll show that, hey, we've done great. But in the middle of it, through the winter season, we're going to struggle.
Yeah.
So.
Even with 10% fund balance, which is our target right now, which again, when this board took authority of the district, we were at a 2% fund balance plus 3% TABOR. 10% is still not going to help with the cash flow with the district that is funded so heavily through local property taxes, and so we may want to look at a larger fund balance at some point if we want to ultimately not have to rely on an interest-free loan. Again, the interest-free loan is not a bad thing. It's, thank God the state does that for districts like ours that are more locally funded than others. There are districts that are 70% funded at the state level, and therefore they don't have. So when you look at the list of districts who borrow in the interest-free loan program, it isn't 178 because there are probably more districts who get funded at a greater ratio at the state level than they do with local property taxes. So we're one of those districts that are always on that list because of the fact that so much of our money hits March, April, May, June. So
I'm just an engineer, so pardon me, but y'all keep apologizing for an interest-free loan. I'm trying to, what's the downside?
there's no downside. It just, We want to get to the point where we don't need to. And again, I think building the fund balance, and I think Justin's approach, since he's joined the district, has really been to look at every expenditure, to make sure that every expenditure is necessary. And that's hard for some who are used to, ordering what they always have ordered. But we're doing a little more scrutiny, because we'd like to hit our 10% fund balance sooner than the board, I think, has given us 2 more years. We were, I think, close to 8 last year, so we went from 2 to or 5 to 8 in the last 2 years, which I think is great progress. I think our goal is to get there faster.
And another, by relying on that interest-free loan and managing expenses to that, let's call it break-even, zero net every year, is the deteriorating capital that we have. The schools that need $1 million roof, the parking lots that, are $500,000 each, HVAC equipment that is rusting, a well at a elementary school that's now costing me $300,000.
That just never quits.
That never quits. So it's one of these where having that low fund balance and maintaining that zero net gain, my heart palpitates every time I get an email of going, what happened? I don't have enough cushion to take another year of a well going down, or a roof, or I don't have that cushion of, oh no, we're in trouble. So we need that fund balance higher. One is to give us that safety, that net of emergency, and then also to start reinvesting that money into teachers, into students, into specialists, into growth and technology. We have to start saving money. We can't be a zero net.
I'm not saying live outside our means, I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure out what's the
Yeah.
downside of.
There's
I
no
mean,
downside
if we
to
know
loan.
we're gonna
Yeah.
be paying it back with
Yeah.
money that we're gonna
Right.
receive in the future.
Right.
I mean, I come from a family of farmers.
Right.
You can't plant if you don't get
Without
the
the
loan, right?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
And the goal is to grow out of that, but then also to have that cushion and to have that safety net to where we can go, okay, we can hire more specialists, we can invest in our teachers, we have that breadth, which we won't have for 24 months, we can take a breath, 36 months, we can take a big breath, so.
So, and I apologize if this was said somewhere in all of that, but, so this is, I know that we did this last year. But prior to that, we've done this no interest loan
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
every year for a long
Every
time,
year,
right?
yeah.
Correct.
This is nothing new.
It is not new, and also when talking to the state representatives about the needs that our district has, we were up, okay, that's nothing. And I went, excuse me? And they go,
Yeah.
we have districts that have tens of millions of dollars in loans.
Oh, wow.
What we're asking for is chump change
Yeah.
to the state.
So we're a whole
So-
lot better than others.
So we are, and we're, we can balance it out, and we can take a lot of the hit, compared to other districts. So we're not as bad as other places, but in our scale, in our safety net, it's a concern. It is a huge concern.
We have to get back to where we can invest $1 million a year in infrastructure. If we're ever gonna catch up with the aging boilers, and that's really where we need to be. And I think we did better this year than we have in a while, but we have to do better. Again, right now, Justin's, is it the well, or is it the boiler that could go out, and having to be in that situation is not where we wanna be as a district. So I'm confident. I appreciate Justin's leadership and getting us on track, and like I said, it's growing pains for folks, because the district has been very generous. Again, prior superintendent used to take off the top what they needed for the district and gave it all to schools, and schools spent every dime. And that's what they do. That's, obviously, you give them the money, they're gonna spend it, and I'm sure great things were done with it. But the reality is it wasn't investing in the long-term future of the district, and that's where we have to shift back to, so.
So are there any opportunities for like capital construction grants for infrastructure
We actually we were contacted by our Best Grant contact in our region. Best Grant right now, because of our district standing, we get very little money on a Best Grant match. So to do a Best Grant, I believe last time I looked it was a 70-30 split, 70 on our part, 30 on their part, which is not a whole lot of contribution if you don't have the 70%. There are waivers you can apply, and because they're reaching out to us, I think we want to continue to explore, you know, can we get some of the Best Grant money building better educational or schools today, I think is what that stands for. But anyways, so those are things we're going to continue to explore. But we also, I mean, most districts like ours in this situation would go out for a bond to get infrastructure up to date. I think we all know right now that that's probably not something that would likely pass in our district, and so we're having to do it the hard way, but I think it's the right way too. I think it's the right way for our taxpayers to get these things funded.
And also in the grant, that, let's say there's a list of 20 things that keep me awake at night. That Best Grant would cross off 2 of them.
Yeah.
We still have 18 ticking time bombs that we have to be concerned about and address. And by cost cutting and analyzing every expenses and living truly by a must have only expense kind of philosophy, not a, hey, we really want, well, don't come with me with what we really want, because I'm going to say no. But if we have to have it, we can do it. But boilers, roofs, parking lots, you know, we did some amazing things this summer, but those are very small items on, you know, $1 million roof or a $500,000 boiler. And I go, we got to make some real hard decisions, because I got to get hot water in that building. How? And I got to figure out how. So that will be a very painful conversation if that ever comes.
I guess my take on this thing keeps going out. I think we might need batteries. Is, you know, so many maintenance things were deferred for so many years before this board, before this administration. So many things generally were deferred, and the delving in that you're doing now has been really good to find out what's truly going on, and that hasn't been done for, you know, we made some, as you came in, there were a lot of good changes made, you know, a lot of more transparency, but that's happening even more. Thank you. And so I think we all just have to realize that this isn't something that all of a sudden, you know, the roof went bad, or all of a sudden, you know, the boiler went bad, or whatever. This has been over a long period of time, and we get to be the lucky ones who get to take care of it. So it's, you know, it's a long-term deferral that has created these issues now, but you know, by your really delving into expenses and making the difference. Thank you so much. I think that is going to truly, I just want people to realize that it's not something, oh gosh, all of a sudden the roof went out, or all of a sudden the well went out. Those things don't happen, you know, in 5 minutes. They happen over a lot of years, and if it hasn't been paid attention to, then this is where we are.
Correct.
The first item is the well, and we've got a motion, or not the well,
We're gonna vote on the well again?
First item is a no-interest loan.
Okay.
And so we've got a motion.
So is there any more discussion? All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have fourth quarter financials. We're not gonna have a motion, you're just gonna fill us in.
Right. As we just kind of touched on, you know, we're ending the quarter unaudited, unadjusted. So there's some year-end audit adjustments and those kind of things. So this is a preliminary before final year-end audit, which will be completed in December. We're already engaged in that with the auditors and providing them all the information. But a preliminary, as I said, 2.159, 2.16 million cash in the bank on the quarters. The budget to actuals and variances are all over the board. And that's just honestly because of the accuracy of the budget that we had last year.
Okay.
So
So that's one question I had when I was looking at this. I look at the numbers from you know, the actuals for 23, 24, and I'm like, wow. Quite a difference.
And unfortunately, I don't have an
Yeah.
answer
Mhm.
because it's not I can't draw a line between one or two. I'm balancing all that, and for me to reconcile all this will take me months. And I don't know how much benefit it will actually have going, oh, that number should have been here and this should have been here, and we calculated this and it was wrong. Moving forward, that won't ever happen.
Okay.
But I cannot, there's just too much for me to dig into right now. So the variances are all over the board, so I'm looking at the bottom line and the ratios, so.
Okay.
And we set out the year thinking we'd be somewhere in the $1.6 to $1.8 million fund balance range, and to be at 2.159 is actually pretty exciting. So that gets us, like I said, I think that's near 8% fund balance, which again, we were thinking 7 was where our hope was for the end of the year. So
Yeah. Yeah,
we
we're doing
actually
much
outperformed
better.
last year. And again, I would say a lot of that had to do at the end of the year, tightening of the belt as Justin came in and really started analyzing expenses and stopping some things that, again, were just common practice that we just have to change.
Yeah.
I appreciate your work. Nothing amazing.
And I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
You're basically coming in and, you know, trying to organize things in a way that you can understand and finding discrepancies, and so we appreciate
Moving
that.
forward, you know, and as the state said, the true validity of a budget is its variance. How far am I off? And this budget here, while for the 25-26 year will be off, up and down, but for the 27-28, now we have a template. Now we have actuals. Now we can see, and that should be dialed in to the tens of thousands a month. You know, where if there's a material outlier of 3-4%, we should be able to dial down into exactly what that root cause is of why is this budget off 2 to 3%, because we have a true template of what happened and when it happened and how and the variances. And granted, if you want me to put you to sleep, I can show you what drives this sheet, and it's nasty.
We're good,
But
thanks.
yes, that is the correct answer. But we can go into the variance analysis on why doesn't the bat budget, and you'll see, you know, things that are off between budget and actuals. Well, next year that'll be adjusted to align correctly. You know, we didn't get it right, but I'd rather have it off on a line item basis this year so we can correct it next year, so.
Questions?
It's a lot to digest, guys,
Yeah.
I promise, but we can sit down and go and drill into things. But there's a tight leash on it now, but we did not have that before.
Okay. Any more questions on the fourth quarter? All right, so we'll move on to the working budget forecast.
That one you've already had a chance to kind of hear a little. Justin's giving you the format that you will track with his cost forecast that shows, you know, that ultimately by November is when we're going to need the borrowing to begin, and then should be able to rectify that certainly in May, June, when the bulk of those property taxes come in. So I don't know, Justin, if you have anything else that you want to point out on that format?
No, and for the interest-free loan, by law, it has to be paid off by the end of the school year. So, you know, there is no carryover. Like, it is by law, it has to be paid over. So, I'll be requesting $3 million. That'll give us enough cushion to take a breath. It is interest-free, so, you know, it's there for a reason. But with this forecast, the more information I have and the more, you know, time that goes by, we can dial it in pretty good. So we can say how much are we gonna have at the end of February, and they'll probably be a pretty good guess, so. FYI, so.
Then you'll be on Easy Street.
Yeah.
What day does that come? I'd like that on the record, please, so. But that's really all I got, guys.
Okay, well, thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Dan, what's the first back meeting?
First back meeting is a third, I just sent it out today with all of the committees and the dates. It's a third Tuesday of September. I haven't done invites yet.
Okay.
You've got a list in the email that's got the dates, and
I will look
I'll
at
get
that.
invites on your calendar here shortly.
Anything else from you guys?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Always hit me up if you need it. I'm around.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, update on the middle school gym floor. We're painting it.
Oh, yeah.
I think tomorrow we're painting the lines on it.
Yay.
So there's a chance it'll be done Tuesday. So a couple days to cure, but yeah, it's coming around.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Get you a cake later.
One other quick thing, what did the parking lot situation at the middle school get resolved? The whole, they started it.
The
they didn't-
vendor?
Yeah,
Yeah, he walked away from a good check for 4
Yeah.
holes, which was foolish.
but that's all
Is-
taken care of now?
100% put to bed. His lawyer called me, and I kind of laid out the groundwork of what happened and why and where, and he didn't like my answer, so then we had our legal counsel call him, and they really did not like our legal counsel's answer, and it got put to bed.
Good,
So,
good job, all right.
Okay,
And the parking lot is,
Passable.
It's passable. Yeah, it's not where we want it to be by any
It
means.
is the best we can do under $500,000.
okay. You ready for 9-4?
Yep.
Okay. All right, next up, we have our second reading of new exhibit JICDE-E-2, the bullying investigation form.
Talk first, and
Sure.
Jess, you want to make it final? So this form, we have made the adjustments to. If you remember, the template form that we began with did have an intervention section, and this form is really designed to hold me accountable on documenting that bullying, incidents of bullying that are reported are investigated thoroughly, that we track them, that we make sure we understand who's involved, what's involved, why it occurred. And so we have removed that intervention section because that's beyond the investigation. After the investigation, then we deal with what are we going to do about it. And this is truly the investigation form. So I believe at this point it is probably ready unless anyone found anything that you felt still needed to be changed. I do believe it's ready for second and final unless you saw something that concerned you. So.
I'm just excited, this feels like closure, because this was like one of the very first policies I worked on when I came on board. And now we get the form, and I'm so happy.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's the little things, right?
I feel you.
Okay, with that, I move that the board approve the second and final reading of the new exhibit JICDE-E-2 bullying investigation form.
Second.
Any further discussion on this one? All right. Mary's gonna celebrate later. Can I get a roll call?
And you said second and final?
Second and final. Okay. Yep.
Sorry, my hearing is not great back. Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, so next up, we have the second reading of revised policy JLDAC, the screening and testing of students.
So this policy really mixed more than just screening and testing of students. And so there's been this entrance into and treatment of mental disorders. Well, we as a school district don't treat mental disorders. We're not therapists. We don't have therapists. We support families in finding the appropriate therapeutic intervention that they need. So we have tried to really streamline this policy into screening and testing of students. When parents need to know, parents need to give permission. Almost everything, it's parents need to give permission. There were several loopholes that I know we discussed that we have removed just to make it very clear. And we have also, there was a statement in here that said teachers may share and we say teachers will share, because we want to make sure that if there are concerns with the child's behavior, that it's not a may or encouraged, but you're directed to share. And so I really feel like this policy is streamlined. It clearly outlines the parental rights. We'll want to look at our parental right policy. That's one of the things we recognized at our class conference this weekend, is that while our parents' rights and responsibilities policy, KBB, is great, we need to go back and update it when policies like this are updated. So that'll be something we'll be working on it for our next meeting. But happy to address anything else maybe that we missed in pulling out. We tried to clarify medical professional as being a registered nurse, not a health technician who's not trained in medical things, and really indicate that any counseling, any work like that would be done with a parent's permission.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, is that, so, I mean, it's one thing to have this policy, it's another thing for that to be
Yeah.
taught to
Yeah.
our teachers, administrators.
Yeah. We have outlined policies or outlined practices for our counselors that indicate contacting parents is always the first step. The only exception is if a child is reporting abuse, then by law that becomes something that we don't investigate, the authorities investigate. So that's the only exception in our practice document, that a counselor may gather information from a student who's reporting a potential abuse situation where maybe a parent might be involved. We don't have a right to disclose that to the parent. That's something that the authorities would investigate, determine. So that's the only exception in our practice document.
Okay. So I move that the board approve the second and final reading of revised policy JLDAC, screening and testing of students.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay. I like it. I think this policy reaffirms our commitment to parents and that we respect their role and we know ours, so.
Yeah, the role.
All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, so next up, we have our second reading of revised policy IJ, instructional resources and materials.
So you're going to see some themes in our policies, and our Chief Academic Officer, Kim Moore, is here for any discussions that you might have, questions for her as well. We've worked to really ensure that our instructional materials and resources, which does include our library, are very consistent throughout all of the policies that we're about to review, both IJ, KEC, and the subsequent supporting documents for KEC. Instructional materials and resources are in the classroom. They're used by teachers in instruction, and they happen to be in the library where that really supports our curriculum. Our policy has always indicated, as does almost every school district's policy from the model policy we're offered to districts, says that libraries are part of their curriculum. They support the curriculum. And so we wanted to be very clear in all of these policies defining what instructional materials and resources are, and they do include things that are in the library. And so with policy IJ in particular, you know, the same definition will appear in the top of every one of the next 4 policies that we're going to look at, because it's so critical that we're very clear that instructional materials and resources is, am I saying that right?
No, R&M.
Resources and materials.
Okay, so
IRM.
even in the agenda, so Jamie has gone through to make sure that all of them are IRM,
I still miss
instructional
some.
resources and materials. And I think she caught a couple spots in the body of a couple of these where she realized that they were different. So consistency is really what we're working on. We have 3 standard tests for materials. Are they, is there educational value? Are they age appropriate? And are they aligned with the board approved curriculum? Those are the 3 standards that we are upholding on all curriculum, including library books. that those are the three bases by which decisions are made in not only purchase of materials, but also in the review of materials if they are challenged. So the IJ policy also charges your chief academic officer with the role of consulting with administration, teachers, and students. So despite the comment that was made in public comment, no, those folks are an important part of the consultation with our chief academic officer, and ultimately bringing recommendations to you. And then obviously the board always and always has held the final recommendation or final decision on instructional materials and resources. So we believe very strongly that the policies you're about to see in IJ, which is the one we're looking at, really does outline clearly that all materials used by students are for the purpose of instruction, whether resource and materials, and that we have outlined very clear processes and procedures that comply with all statutes that are in existence.
Okay.
So if there's
Yeah.
anything we missed.
Well, it'll come up in discussion. Okay, so I move that the board approve the second and final reading of revised policy IJ, instructional materials and resources.
Second.
All right, discussion. I like it. I like it.
Well, and I think with the folks that think that we're just up here banning books or whatever, like, that's just not the case. I mean, we have parents that are on these curriculum committees. I mean, this is not
We have
just
teachers, we have
us by
student.
fiat.
Community members, yeah, we have.
Exactly, so.
Yeah.
Well,
And we don't just have community members from anywhere in the state of Colorado.
Exactly.
We have community members from our.
Voters
From
who
our
are-
area.
Mhm.
So it's the community values, the people
Well,
who.
and one thing you have to take into consideration too, the community members are taxpayers. And
That's
so
right.
they.
It's their money paying for this stuff.
Well, it's the parents are invested with their students, parents also pay taxes, community members that don't have kids in the school, they also pay taxes.
That's right.
And there are repercussions if our schools are failing, if our schools are doing bad, that affects property values.
Yep.
You know, and there's so many repercussions, so I think it's important to have well-rounded input,
Yeah.
and transparency, so, and I think our committees really help with that.
I agree.
Absolutely, you're so right.
All right, any further discussion on this one? All right, so can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have our second reading of revised policy KEC, public concerns, complaints about instructional resources and materials.
So this particular policy outlines when a concern exists and how those concerns will be handled. This board has put into place a curriculum review committee, as has several boards. We heard actually at our class conference, other districts who have had a curriculum review committee for some time. And so certainly our board is in alignment with many districts in the state. This particular one does again take into account that it's all instructional resources and materials, not just library books. And so it could be a website used in the classroom. It could be a handout that's commonly used in a subject area that's being instructed. It could be a supplemental book that's used to enhance the curriculum that's adopted by the board. Whatever it may be, an instructional resource and material is what's at stake here in this particular policy. So it does outline how those would surface. Again, it does reiterate those three standards by which we will always evaluate materials: age appropriateness, educational value, and aligned with the curriculum. So those are the three standards. This particular policy also appropriately outlines that a book will not be excluded because of the writer's race, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, nationality, political or religious views, and that, again, the value of the whole book will always be judged. We've talked about there are books that might have things that we'd rather not have children access, but they also have a historical value, and so we have to always weigh that as, you know, as a depiction of what really happened in our society something we want to take away from our children if it's that historical value versus just obscenity that might be in a book. So this particular policy does outline the process by which parents or other individuals, because again, it's not only library resources that are being considered in this policy, it's all. However, Nicole will jump in a moment. She actually brought up some things today, and we worked with our attorney, and we have a few minor suggestions that are in the front pocket of your folder. So I don't know if, Nicole, you want to take it from there.
I will. Yes, thank you. Yes, I brought up something that came up during public comment, wanting to make sure we are in compliance with state law, specifically a bill that was passed this past legislative session, and you'll see it's highlighted in green here. It's CRS 22-1-1484C. And so under state law, only a parent can make a formal request for consideration of a library book. However, there are other pathways that concerned community members, staff, even students themselves can go ahead and submit concerns about books that are in the library. So to make sure we are in compliance, I suggested that we do add language that says, following state law, the only individuals who can officially make a request for consideration are parents. However, the community can participate in a parallel path that is not prohibited under state law.
Our community mentioned students and staff, but that's not what the law says. The law says parents only. Parents
right.
with children where that material exists in their library. So just to correct our public speaker earlier, if we only follow the laws, teacher can't bring something to the attention of the district, a student can't bring something to the attention of the district, which is deeply concerning. So that's why I think, thank you, Nicole, for catching that. I think it's critical to recognize they do need to alert us if there's concern. It won't be through the formal review process that's outlined in the policy, but it doesn't mean that we as a district should ignore it.
Which I think is just a good reminder, again, that of course we're very parents' rights focused, but we also want to give a voice to others in our community, whether they're taxpayers, whether they're staff who care about the kids and the exposure that they're getting to material, or the students themselves who are mature enough to see this isn't something that I want my siblings exposed to, or I myself want to be exposed to. We want to have a pathway for them to be able to come and share that with us, and so they can do that through this process. They can do it by showing up to our meetings or by emailing anyone in the district to be able to share those concerns.
So I have a quick question regarding so the person who objects to the book or other material will be asked to complete a request for reconsideration form, which is a form that we've got that we'll be dealing with later. According to CRS 22 blah, blah, blah. Only a parent of the student enrolled in the school library resource may request a reconsideration. Other members of the community
For
may
that
communicate.
material,
For that
for
material.
library material. So
And I do, yes, I updated this on one of the other forms we're going to look at, but
Yeah.
I do think we should probably clarify of library resources because, you know, through our reconsideration process, because we list that, of course, as instructional resources and materials, which includes things in the classroom and things in the library. So where we're being specific here is that, according to state law, only the parents can request it formally. So let's go ahead and say that with regard to library resources. But anyone else in the community can go ahead and submit those concerns to us through the same process, this request for consideration, but we're calling it for instructional material that's not a library book.
Okay. So a parent is the only one who can do it for officially and formally for a library resource, but what we're saying is other community members can
Can bring it.
kind of just like let Kim know, you know, I saw this, or I
Right.
heard about this, is this true, or something on you know, on either a library item particularly, I guess. But, and that will be taken into consideration
that would be
and
handled
brought
in
to
a
the
different
CRC
process.
and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
probably CRC would still be involved
Okay.
because that's your
Okay.
direction, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it
Yeah.
would not follow the letter A, B, C, D, like it's
Right.
outlined here, because that's a formal request for reconsideration.
Right.
If it's a library book and it's not a parent, that would be handled through a different process.
Okay.
But the input would still be received.
Its input would definitely be received, and we want to be clear that we're open to that, so,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And there's nothing in state law that prohibits staff or students or community members from using a request for consideration on any material that's outside of the school library.
Yeah.
So that is still open to folks to use that process.
Do you think we should
Funds.
clarify that as separated from the library resources there?
I think, I mean,
Does
it does say here, additionally, other instructional resources or materials may be
Yeah.
suggested for reconsideration by students, staff, or community members.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
There you go.
specifically
Yeah, it's on the
looking for
back of that second
Yeah.
page.
There's a woman
Okay,
being
good.
sued right now because she objected to a video that was being shown
Mm.
in the classroom, and the board threatened to sue her for defamation, so.
Okay, well, I like what you added, and just, like you said, clarify a little bit, may formally request, did you say something about adding
Yeah,
formally
request a
in there?
consideration of
Of
library resources.
So
Yes.
just kind of
Period.
goes to the lines.
Clarify.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before other members of the community.
Mhm.
in
Yes.
there.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think it's a very clear policy. Obviously, the track changes makes it very difficult. We'll clean that up and get you a clean copy. But like I said, I think it's done well. Our attorneys are very pleased, feel like it addresses all of the issues in the law and ensures that we're in full compliance, and it respects this board's desire to make sure that things in the classroom, things that are used for instructional purposes, that there is an avenue where teachers can alert you to concerns, students can alert you to concerns, and members of our community who pay taxes. Again, 12,499 voters in our boundaries, 2,600 students. So we have a lot of non-parent taxpayers who contribute to run this district, and they certainly have a voice in what happens.
And I'll add that there might be parents out there who would not know but for community members who, or teachers, or students themselves who bring these things to light.
Okay.
So I think it actually supports parents' rights.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think this is about transparency and accountability.
Absolutely.
This is why we make this available, and we are willing to review if there are concerns
Yep.
and take those into an account for future decision making.
Yep.
Now, so it's not too vague, are we going to, how are we going to let people know? What is their means of, can you just?
I think we could put out, after these are formally adopted, we could put out guidance to the community on, based upon some recent policy changes, we want to clarify pathways by which. I do want to say for the record, and for those who are watching, our library review began because of parents expressing concerns about materials in the library. It wasn't outside community members. It was
Yeah.
parents of children in our district who expressed concerns about library books that led this board to charge the curriculum review committee to do a thorough review of our 50,000 books. So that seems to be lost somewhere in the facts out there. It was not the community, it was not a special interest group, it was parents in our community who brought books to this board and said, look at what you have in your library, that led you to say, let's do a thorough review of the library.
Yes.
It's a good point.
And the comment earlier about the language of, and the board will not permit any individual or group to exercise censorship, and then should an individual or group want to have it done, this is kind of the process.
Yeah.
So that individual or group thing is, I mean, it is the protection against any one person coming in and saying, oh, you gotta get rid of X, Y, Z
Right,
book. I
right.
mean, this process protects us, protects our students, protects our school from
Yep.
special interest groups coming in and saying,
Yep.
no, this, you can't have this.
Yeah.
There's a process, and
There
that's
has
what
to be a
this.
named complainant. It can't be
Yes.
a group of people who showed up. It has to be a named complainant
Exactly.
who's gonna sign their name, fill out the form, give the details of concern.
Right.
And I think that's what protects from just a group lobbying you to say, we don't think this material should be in your library. Well,
Right.
somebody needs to come forward and complete the form so that
Yeah.
the curriculum review committee has adequate understanding of the concern.
Exactly,
So-
exactly.
That goes both ways.
Yeah,
So, you know, we can have a group lobbying to take stuff out, but then we can also have group lobbying to put stuff in.
no, that's true, yeah,
So, I
exactly.
mean, this isn't just one-sided.
Right,
Thank you.
yeah,
this
that's a
is-
good point.
I believe it's the most democratic republic process that could possibly have come up with. It was amazing.
So with that, do we want this to be the final reading, or-
And I would say with the amendments.
Okay,
Yeah, with those
Brought
two.
forward by
Little amendments.
Board Member Hunt.
Yeah.
okay. So I move that the board approve the second and final reading of revised policy KEC, public concerns complaints about instructional resources and materials with the amendments made by Director Hunt.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on this one? Okay, then do a roll call.
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, so next up, we have our second reading of Exhibit KEC-E, public concerns complaints about instructional resources and materials.
So we did have a meeting with our legal counsels, and there were some adjustments to number 6 that I want to draw your attention to. Because an individual doesn't have to read the entire book to express a concern. If they've read a first chapter and they're struggling with what they're seeing, we're not forcing them to read the rest of it if there's already legitimate concerns. So the way it was worded almost sounded like we were speaking down to someone who didn't read the whole thing, and that's not our intent. And so we wanted to clarify. So she recommended some modifications. You know, did you read enough to ultimately have sufficient informed opinion, and then what parts or pages concerned you? So really allowing them to just talk about the part that concerned them. And I think we have another change also that recognize.
Yes, yeah, just following with the past form to be consistent with state law. Make it clear that only a parent can challenge reconsideration of library resources. And so I did have a recommendation at the end of that highlighted sentence there. May request a reconsideration of library resources. To make sure that that's on.
So just a note, there's an asterisk after the parent. Unfortunately, green and black doesn't always make it easy to see. Sorry about that. It was bright green on my screen.
I know, it
But
changes.
the asterisk there, parent, would correspond with that. So if it's a library resource, then obviously we could only accept this form from a parent. But again, we've also offered other avenues for other members of the community.
And again, this isn't just libraries, this is overall instructional resources and materials, so.
On number 6, I think it needs just one word adjusted, in that if not, describe which parts you reviewed. And then it says, and what that review was sufficient. I think it's maybe how that review was sufficient to develop.
Thank you. That review was sufficient. Okay.
And Dan, I wanted to point out, just for consistency purposes, because I do agree with legal counsel that I like adding or meaningful parts. But I wanted to flip to the front, and if you'll see right underneath our green highlighted area, it says that the following questions are to be answered after the complainant has read, viewed, or listened to the material in its entirety.
We should say.
So I think maybe we just take out the
Thank you.
in its entirety,
Yeah.
because we're saying here that
We
it's
listen
sufficient.
To the material.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah.
So we'll strike that. We'll add of library resources under, or after the green highlighted.
Reconsideration.
And there is, we'll change the word what to how on number 7.
So just the 2 changes?
3.
3.
3.
3 changes. I've got those.
Okay, I walked away for a second.
So with that, I'm going to amend my motion. Well, make a motion. I move that the board approve the second and final reading of revised policy KEC-E, public concerns, complaints about instructional resources and materials with the proposed amendments by,
A bunch of people.
All the proposed amendments.
Directors Hunt and Powell.
There we go.
Second.
All right, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
And Director Powell?
Aye.
Okay, so next up, we have our second reading of Regulation KEC-R, Public Concerns Complaints about Instructional Resources and Materials.
So again, just trying to capture all of the specifics. We did go through where it said committee, this was recommendation of council that we always indicate CRC, because that's the committee. And I just felt like continuing to carry that through, so you'll see, that consistent run through. You'll also see in Aqua, actually, no, I think that was changed, that was already there. So, I think that's primarily the change. Again, I think a council also recommended this, Aqua on the back, and so the board will make final decisions based on the recommendation of the CRC and communicate the action taken to the superintendent. So, if something is challenged, it goes to CRC, CRC makes a recommendation to you. That is just a recommendation. In the end, you as a board have the final decision, and then it would be my job, based upon your communicating that to me, to communicate that to the complainant.
On number 5, we kind of had gotten rid of education, so we can just strike,
The board.
yeah, just say the board on
Okay.
number 5,
You want that taken off?
just for consistency, yeah.
So all throughout where it says in the Board of Education, you just want to say board.
Yeah,
And I think we've got that might be no longer.
yeah, I think you got rid of some of them, so.
I think I left it after our conversation with Laura. I think the way she said it, I left it,
Oh.
but that doesn't mean it has to be. But I think that's why I left that one.
Well, there's actually one in
CRC
4E too.
Yeah, CRC is making specific recommendation to, and I think just like CRC, she's added CRC throughout. I think here she really wanted to be clear of what board are they making that recommendation. So I think Board of
Oh.
Education is intentional, thank you.
Oh, okay, okay, well, that's fine. So leave that in on both of those places, okay.
And if I could just clarify, on 4D, it says that they'll prepare a report, and then for E, it says that they'll forward their recommendation. Is that the report and the recommendation, or are we using the words interchangeably?
Good point. Report to me would be the recommendation, so maybe we just need to be consistent.
Just
The
whichever it is.
report that outlines the recommendation, how about
Okay,
we say that?
sure.
Report of their recommendation, is that acceptable?
Yeah, that sounds good.
This gets better every time we look at it.
And this is a really small thing, but the CRC that's used at the very beginning, I don't know if we want to go ahead and say the Curriculum Review Committee before we start calling it by its acronym, so it's clear.
Would that be number 3, is that the first one?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay.
So write that and then put CRC in parentheses.
Yeah.
Again, number 3, what we first use, that would be Curriculum Review Committee, and then parentheses CRC, so we know that. It does, and I do want to put this for the public, if the Curriculum Review Committee has a number of people who may disagree with the overall, you have the ability of giving the board a minority report. So I think it's important that this policy does capture the fact that just because it might be a vote of one more than half, it doesn't mean the board is not interested in hearing the other point of view. Because again, the final decision rests with you, and so that minority report, I think, is an important aspect to highlight. And again, you're gonna have a diverse committee that has different opinions. So that allows
I agree, even if it's one in minority, they can still prepare a report.
They have the ability of writing their recommendation to you and the reasons why, so.
That's
you-
great.
Okay. Is everybody comfortable with this, final reading, second and final? Okay. So I move that the board approve the second and final reading of revised regulation KEC-R, public concerns, complaints about instructional resources and materials with the changes proposed.
Second.
All right, can you get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
So next up, we have our first reading of new regulation KEC-R-2, library protocols. Yeah, this would be, we're gonna have a longer discussion.
And it's first reading, so
Yeah.
I'm not intending on approving this one.
So I move that the board approve the first reading of revised regulation KEC-R-2, library protocols. Can we get a second?
Second.
All right.
So this is capturing the library protocols that you put into place a little over a year ago, and making sure that it's memorialized in policy. The library protocols have been maintained by our chief academic officer, but this allows them to kind of have a permanent law in place. And again, it's also a chance for you a year later to review and see if there's anything that at this point you want to modify or anything that might need clarification. Time gives you that ability. So there are 3 protocols, selection process, sensitive content catalogs that we put into place, and then ensuring that parents have access to the library catalog and student history. So those are the 3 parts of the library protocol.
I made a note on protocol 1, and this is probably what was referred to earlier about outside groups, I'm speculating, but, in protocol 1, it says, the CRC will evaluate existing library materials for potential age-level sensitive content using the following resources. And then it lists resources, which, some of these might not even exist anymore. So my thoughts were maybe change the verbiage to, using resources such as, or including, not limited to, these, so we don't have to keep cutting and changing it.
I noted that as well.
Yeah.
You want it to be an evergreen policy, or at least as evergreen as it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then if we, potentially, any other new ones have come to light, we could list them in there too, so that people, the CRC and you and, anybody reviewing these materials could have a list in front of them, whether that's, I do like your resources such as, but I think at this point, if we know of any others, because we do know the one doesn't exist anymore in this list, so.
I just don't wanna have to keep going back.
No, we don't want that, but I mean, if we say such as, we don't have to, but we might as well make it as current as we can
Exactly.
right now.
Is there any reason we can't just point them to the chief academic officer and say, as a list approved by her? Or that person? But the chief academic officer can just be the holder of all resources that are used to.
It might be good to have it in public record, though, in case people want to look at the resources that we may be using to review books.
Yeah.
Such as doesn't limit you to that.
No,
Do
it
you wanna
doesn't.
go to the
Plus, it's
microphone?
kind of
Most
guiding
these have
for
been
you
around
too.
for a long time and are still around and
Mhm.
will be around for a long time.
Yeah.
I think more than that, but-
Yeah.
And I did have a question on that same protocol in the same paragraph. It starts with library and or district staff as well as members of the CRC. Just wanted to clarify, do we know who in the district staff, or is that something that we want to clarify, or is that just assigned as people are?
We may want to align this with KECR, because we're no longer, well, at this point in time, we're no longer reviewing the entire library. That's on hold at this point in time. So, and once that's completed, at which time we're allowed to complete it, then really that's not something that would happen again. We would then go on to the selection of materials, and then should a material be challenged, go through that process. So I wonder if to make this, to align this with KECR, if this is.
Is it just the CRC?
And I will point out that you, in your policy last year, did say, we'll also evaluate any parent or guardian identified books of concern. So you actually, in this policy, actually did. So I think the state stole from you the language of parents. So my thought would be that we actually readjust Protocol 1 to kind of capture the fact that long-term, we're actually talking about material. How that would be reviewed. I don't know, Mary, what your thoughts are. There's still language where you feel it should be retained.
I need to think about it.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think we want to adopt
Yeah.
this tonight. I think there's a lot to.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and the reason why I brought it up too is as we've been reviewing all of these other KEC documents, we really haven't been talking about library or district staff. Mostly we've been talking about the CRC. So I would just understand what is the process by which these other folks are coming in or being selected to participate in this.
I have a question actually for Kim regarding that, if that's okay. So I know that you have gotten requests from our library staff saying, I'd like to order this, is this okay? And you have kind of the first level, of course, you know.
Yes.
And really, in most cases, you're gonna have the final say on yes, they can, or no, they can't.
Yes.
Based on these protocols. But do you have, so when you get, I'm sorry, I've lost
That's okay.
exactly how I wanna say this, but, the process when you get that request, you are getting requests from the
Yes.
library staff.
Yes, I am.
And so, we definitely, and from the teachers as well, that they want something for their classroom
Yeah.
library or something.
Yes.
And we have said, really basically, we've said no more stuff going into the classroom libraries,
That
is
is
that
true,
correct? So,
unless it is one of the greatest, on the greatest book list.
great books, okay, good. So, so I guess our process is, you know, the people who are dealing with it, who are kind of looking at, you know, I'd like to buy this for the library, but they know there's a process to go to you first.
Yes.
And so, maybe we just need to clarify that the request goes to you first, and then you make the decision based on these protocols, basically.
Yes.
And then, you know, when it comes down to, and you do, I know you use these resources, I
I
know
do.
you've used some of them.
I look at
Yeah,
every
because you were the
book
ones
that
who
they
alerted us
request.
to the one that's
Yes,
gone, yes,
yes.
it's like, what?
And
So-
you use the sensitive topic categories.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly,
That's a key aspect.
yes. So, I guess that was really badly worded, and I'm trying to work this through in my head and then say it out loud too, and it's not working out very well. But I think we need to recognize your part in that process, and that you do get the request to still buy whatever,
Mhm.
but you make the call based on this protocol.
For new purchases,
For new
yes.
purchases,
And
yes.
what I hear there being the difference here is that we're talking about when we're requesting versus when we're evaluating. Because here it
Exactly.
says the library and district staff as well as the CRC will evaluate, not necessarily the
Existing library
request
materials, yeah.
Right.
side
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
true,
So maybe
that's
if we
true.
make this a little bit
Yeah.
more clear.
I think protocol one needs to be completely rewritten, capturing where we are today. And, you know, I think we can align it to the procedure outlined in KBCR, I guess KBCR one, that's the first R. And then come back to you with probably both a review and analysis of material, which I believe is included in this process, as well as a selection process. So I
Yeah.
just feel like those two
So
need to be separated.
analysis of current
Current
materials
versus buying new
versus-
stuff. I think that's a good idea to separate
Request
it out.
versus
Maybe that's
evaluations.
maybe that's where I was getting myself all goobered up, because,
Kim and I can certainly take a crack at it and then get your draft, obviously, long
Yeah.
before your next meeting, so you can then give feedback. But I think separating those two, because the review of existing materials will need to align with KECR.
Yeah.
yeah.
The selection of materials has a different process.
then it makes sense to even identify chief academic officer as being the place to send that request, and maybe not even CRC needing to be involved in that at that point. I did have a clarifying question up in the first paragraph. If we go to the last sentence, it says, to that end, the Curriculum Review Committee has developed the following guiding protocols. Are we actually talking about, is this a board document? Like, did the board?
The Curriculum Review Committee developed this, recommended it to the board, and the board adopted it.
Okay.
So this was designed by the Curriculum Review Committee that was charged with, you need to review the 50,000 books that are in our library because we had multiple complaints from parents. And then ultimately, we need a process moving forward. So that's,
Yeah,
that's how
no,
this
that
came
was.
about.
We
So-
created that process prior to looking at the books.
Okay. So I wonder then if we might want to add in, because it makes it sound like the Review Curriculum Committee has, or I guess, is the authoritative body for this document. So I wonder too, if you want to keep it in there, if that's important to say that it was developed by the CRC, maybe then we just say and adopted by this board. That way it's still clear that they're not necessarily the authoritative committee when it comes to whether or not the policy is
And I
followed.
think our thought was when we adopted it that it would just remain a protocol that would govern the process. I think since then, with the exciting occurrences that have occurred since, we decided it really should be memorialized in a public place where parents can.
Right.
Well, and to the point that we actually might be changing this a bit, it might be worth it to say, initially drafted by, but revised by the board, because at the end of the day, this isn't going to look exactly like it did when it was initially developed.
We might even be able to put a date that it was developed and then.
That, I was thinking about that
revised.
at the top,
So maybe-
Yeah, because I didn't see any history, so I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we would note that during the summer of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I can get you the
24, I
date on
think.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we would have approved as policy, but also a date at which it was developed.
So there was some language in here that was kind of confusing to me, because my concern is, I want to be proactive versus reactive. I don't want stuff making it into the libraries in bulk shipments.
It's not,
Okay, but,
it's not,
but does it say that in here?
right,
Okay.
right, so we need to probably
Yeah, 'cause
capture that.
I saw the bulk.
Right.
I want everything reviewed and pre-approved, but on the second, on page 2, the very top, it says materials reviewed and flagged may be purchased if the school principal confirms that such library materials will contribute to the attainment of course objectives directly related to board of academics. So is that, is that?
Would be historical documents, I would say is the best example there. If it's a historical book that outlines real history that children need to access, obviously it's gonna be taught in a setting where teachers are guiding students through it versus
But does it fall under curriculum? And is that an exception to the rule that?
Yeah, I would say right now we want everything to go through the curriculum review process. So I think there's so many gaps in
Yeah.
protocol 1 based on where we are now that rewriting is appropriate.
Yeah, I probably have, yeah, I have previous versions of that protocol, if we want to look at those and craft.
I just wanna make sure everything follows a process and there's no gaps.
Wiggle room.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, protocol 1 will be split into a selection and then a review.
Review, existing, yeah.
So we'll outline a selection process and then a review process, which will mirror KEC to a great degree.
This, just a comment about this whole thing that we're doing right now with this, I mean, these library protocols were kind of an emergency response to the realization that parents were saying, I'm not quite sure about some of these books, and we realized there had to be a process. So that was kind of where our brain was at that time. And now, because of, the broader scope of both what the CRC did in actually reviewing and choosing curriculum, as well as concern about the library materials, it just shows that this is a fluid process, and we are improving it and amending it as we go, and we're not stuck in something archaic that isn't working now. But this was where we were at to start, and now, it has moved forward. So the whole review process itself was a start from scratch, what do we do kind of a thing. And we came up with, I think, a very good and transparent process when we reviewed those books. And our sensitive content list and the whole 9 yards with all of that. And this is just more of the same. So I just want to say that this is what we do. We are just trying to, you have to start somewhere, and then you improve it as you go, I guess is my.
Some of these documents haven't been reviewed since 2001.
I know,
So
yeah,
that's an entire generation.
exactly,
Hadn't been
yeah,
reviewed.
yeah.
Ideally, wouldn't it be wonderful to someday get to the point we don't have to worry about sensitiveness?
Mhm.
Well, and that's the key
That
to the
people-
selection process.
Yeah.
We know that every new material is going through a thorough vetting to make sure that it is supportive of the curriculum, age appropriate.
Yeah.
And aligns with the board adopted.
And if I could add, because as I was looking into CRS 22-148-4A, it talked about the fact that a lot of the provisions of how they are asking that parents be the only individuals to pull books from libraries or to ask for reconsideration. It actually does have a provision that says that that these sections do not apply to routine collection maintenance. In accordance with the public school library's established collection development and maintenance policy. So to the degree we can, as part of this, be clear about what that policy is, the maintenance policy, right? Over time, we're just going to continue to maintain as we bring new books in. We don't have unlimited shelves for all the books.
Protocol
So-
4, maybe a maintenance.
Yes, so I think it would be a great idea to add it into this section, to this policy.
Yeah.
I think we knew bringing this would at least generate the conversations that we needed. I don't think this will be a second reading and done by any means. I think we'll take a shot at it between now and the next board meeting, get it to you, our best thinking, and then obviously have this discussion again.
Yeah. This is good. I like it. Continuous improvement.
Exactly.
Always.
So, I guess we've discussed, so we want to do a roll call.
Roll call.
Acknowledging that we've just discussed.
Pretty much.
Well, this was first reading, right?
Yeah,
So
we
we're
did
approving
approve first
reading, yeah.
Director Callahan,
Aye.
Director Fletcher,
Aye.
Director Hunt,
Aye.
Director Olson,
Aye.
Director Powell.
Aye. If you can.
Okay, so we have some interesting policies coming up. We're going to start off with our first reading of revised policy KLG, relations with federal, state, and local agencies.
So this policy originally was relations with state agencies. And there was a law passed, I don't have it in front of me, that does specifically reference federal agencies, and so this policy does need to be amended. We actually have something in this policy that relates to local agencies, so we're recommending, that's not a state recommendation, that's our recommendation, because we do believe number 4 in the list is an important one, and it is a local partnership with local agencies, specifically law enforcement entities. So we're recommending that change, that it be relations with federal, state, and local agencies. We've adopted most of the recommendations. There are some specific languages that were recommended that we are recommending not to include because we believe that the general statement overall protection of civil rights of all individuals is adequate without going into the nitty-gritty detail. I think I will just say this personally, I'm struggling a little with state law that it honestly appears to reflect the federal law.
Yeah.
I think that puts us in a different spot. And so our recommendation is that we keep this policy aligned so that we're not in conflict with federal law, and that we make the adjustments to recognize that there is federal agencies that we relate to, and that be the modifications be included here that we're recommending forward.
Well, I definitely agree adding in federal, and I think local agencies is very important because two of our security are directly employed by the police department, so, thank you. So, yes, I think that's very important.
Okay, so I move that the board approve the first reading of revised policy KLG, relations with federal, state, and local agencies.
Second?
Now, can I just say this was required to be adopted by September 1st?
Oh, you know what? Let me amend my motion, and I move that the board approve the first and final reading of revised policy KLG relations with federal, state, and local agencies.
Second.
All right. Any further
Sorry.
discussion on this one? Okay, all right, roll call.
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
Thank you for that reminder.
Sorry.
Okay, so this one is a repeal of regulation KLG-R-2, relations with local, county, and state agencies. Now, this one is old because it was revised in 2001, but I looked up, the statute that it refers to, so it does refer to 2232-124. Pretty much says the exact same thing that's in the policy. I guess my question is, do we have to have a policy for every Colorado revised statute so we can repeal this? Thank you.
We thought we had a lot of policies before.
Exactly. There's a new statute.
Yikes.
Okay, so with that, I, move that the board approve the repeal of regulation KLG-R-2, relations with, no, that's the wrong one. I have it on here twice. No, this is, yeah, that's true. Relations with local, county, and state agencies.
And, yeah, I second.
Okay, roll call.
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
Aye.
We have a lot of state and local agencies in these last three.
Well, and this one sort of was just weird that it
Yeah.
was under that one anyway, because it's really just kind of,
All right,
It
don't
just
call the
doesn't-
planning commission weird.
Just
kidding.
Oopsie.
Cindy and I said planning
but it
commission.
didn't really fit under the other
Go
thing,
back to
exactly.
2001.
Sorry, my bad.
Just joking.
Too funny, I know.
Okay, next up, we have our first reading of revised policy JRA, JRC, student records, release of information on students.
They're saying this also has to be approved by September 1st, which
I don't-
honestly, we're a little confused with, so I'm gonna ask you maybe after we discuss, I think we will amend that first and final. But we'll work on that and see.
But and I can say, Dan, that I had written it in the detailed agenda, that it's because of the consent part. So, where did I put it? Sorry.
Is it an opt-out before October 1st?
It protects personal identifying information of parents, relatives, guardians, and students, which I think was already in there. But I think that's what it has to do with the whole,
KLG.
yeah. If that's helpful, I don't know.
So we can keep first reading and do roll call and then talk about it and see if we can.
Okay.
Did you?
I was too busy reading.
Sorry.
I don't think
Let's
you-
just start over.
No, I don't think you must.
Okay. Well, with that, I move the board approve the first and final reading of revised policy JRA, JRC, student records, release of information on students.
Second.
So this has a lot of us instead of shalls, this has some wills
Yeah, it
instead of
didn't really
shalls,
change.
this has some capitalization. And honestly, my review of it really has no substantial changes other than some capital D. Some clarifying words. I don't know if anyone saw anything that you have a question about, but as Jamie and I went through this, we really see nothing that would lead us to challenge any of the changes, even though there was some indication that it connected KLG.
One question I have is, what are the reasons for disclosing directory information?
That is information that is permitted by law to be disclosed, and that's why I think it says may. Let me see where.
Page 6, pretty much.
So may include. So parents, for instance, a PTA, and they want the students' names for awards for activities, sports, boosters clubs may want photographs to promote the athletes. So these are the things that are allowed to be released. It doesn't mean we have to, but if it's something that's being asked for in its directory, this is outlining what could be included. So it's very clear to someone who says, no, that's, I can't share that because that's not one of these.
Okay, and this does have an opt-out for parents?
Yes,
They can opt them out
absolutely.
no later than October 1st.
Yeah. We want to share that with parents. So.
And I think it's interesting, and I just wondered, I think it's odd, but the comment here on page 2, in the second paragraph, the comment has what CASB's wording is, and it seems to be kind of opposite of our language. Because we're saying staff members who share personally identifiable information based on their own personal knowledge will be responsible for violation of confidential, or will be personally liable, and may face discipline. And then the CASB apparently says nothing in this policy will prevent that from happening. So those are totally opposite.
I like ours better.
I like ours better too.
Yeah, because if you as a,
It's more
let's
protective.
say, special education para have personal knowledge of a student's
Yeah.
disability or medical issues occurring as a result of that,
Yeah.
it's because you personally have knowledge of that and you didn't read the record.
Mhm.
We don't want someone going out and sharing.
Right.
And their wording makes it sound like, well, if you kind of found that out on your own, you can
Yeah,
share it.
I know. No, I agree completely. I just wondered why, and I mean, ours is more protective of the student this way, so I like ours much better. But I just wondered if anybody knew any background to that, because that's.
So
kinda
it was
odd.
done in April of 2023, you guys did it.
Okay.
So at some point,
I think-
this board chose that,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
or part of this
I think
board.
we often said, no, that's not. In fact, I think we had that very discussion.
Yeah.
We don't want people sharing things that prove a position.
Yeah.
They acquired knowledge even if it wasn't from
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
So-
'cause
Protects
it could
the
be
student
colored by their
safety.
own personal bias on them and stuff, so you don't want that going into an official record. No, I like ours much more protective. I like ours better. I just thought that was odd and wondered what we
I
did
don't
that.
remember, but.
So,
Okay, any further discussion?
I have a question about the disclosure to military recruiting officers. I mean, it's on, well, it starts on 6, but it's mostly on page 7. I get maybe those, males that have to register for selective service or whatever, but why female students? If they requested everybody's, why do we?
We have parents who opt out, so that's a standard opt-out. Registration, if you want to opt out of sharing your information with military. This is something that military recruiters will ask for so that they can reach out to students about prospective opportunities within the military. So we do, that is something that is part of our standard beginning of the year, if you want to opt out of sharing your information. So it's made out.
Okay.
We have a lot of students who take the ASVAB
Yeah,
test.
that's what I was gonna say.
Actually, probably one of our bigger administered tests is the military's ASVAB test. It is one of the ways that students can actually satisfy graduation requirements too by demonstrating proficiency. So that's actually a very popular test in the district, so students take.
Any further discussion on this one? Okay. All right, with that, can I get a roll call?
Director Callahan?
Aye.
Director Fletcher?
Aye.
Director Hunt?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Powell?
aye.
Okay, with that wraps up our action items. Our next board meeting is going to be Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, here in the boardroom.
I point out, sent you all an email this morning with the board liaison roles that are available. And we don't have that on our agenda tonight to discuss, but we do have the teacher advisory council that will meet and the classified advisory
come down to,
Timing.
Who's available?
yeah, who's available. I mean, I'm willing to switch if an evening meeting works better for somebody. I can try and work it to where I can get off a little early once a month to attend one of the others.
TACing's at 3:50, and it's on a Wednesday afternoon, and CAC meets in the morning, at 9 o'clock on the first Tuesday of the month. So, if that works for.
Well, I may be late, but I will be at the CAC meeting on Tuesday. I probably will be late because I had another appointment, but I think it should be wrapped up soon.
It's never harmful if there's not a board meeting at a meeting.
Yeah.
Our TAC and our CAC are very understanding that people have jobs and other responsibilities. So I just didn't want you to miss the opportunity
Yeah,
on the TAC
yeah.
meeting. The first TAC meeting will be a lot of orienting new members. There'll be new teachers who are on TAC for the first time. So again, if that's a meeting someone wants to try to attend and then formally discuss it. When I sent this, I asked you to let Rhonda know if there were particular ones you're interested in, so that Rhonda could start kind of having in her head.
I was just thinking, for purposes of our newer board members, maybe it would be good to describe what these committees are and who they are made up from a little bit.
Yeah. And so I did that in the numbers to look at that, but TAC is our Teacher Advisory Council. There's 2 representatives from every building that are elected by their staffs, and they come monthly, bring forward issues. We get those in advance, so they do a pre-TAC meeting where issues are brought forward, put on the agenda, and then shared with us so that we're, if we need Justin there because it's a financial issue, or we need Kim there because it's a curriculum issue, we can make sure we have the right people in the room. And those I've tried to share with board members ahead of time as well. CAC is same with, but just our classified, our folks who don't have to have a license for the jobs. Our cooks, our custodians, our paraprofessionals, our office staff. The District Advisory Council is a statutory committee that we must have in Colorado Revised Statute 2228-105. That involves a parent in every school, teacher representatives, community representatives, and an administrator. And that's a committee that I typically have led. And so that's in the evening, 6 to 8, and dinner is provided at that particular meeting. Curriculum Review Committee, Kim is working on some dates. Those aren't on the sheet that we provided you. But that will be probably an afternoon committee, but again, open to feedback from you if there's a better time.
Kim and I talked earlier, probably 4 o'clock, because it does include some teachers and staff otherwise, so we don't want them to have to run back and forth.
Well,
Yeah, and the student
parents
representative.
too, because a lot of them are working, and community members are working, so,
Yeah.
Early in the afternoon might not
Yeah, exactly.
work well.
Right.
So we're
So-
still looking for members for DAC on the Curriculum Review Committee. We've got the nominations out there, and we'll do another plug this week to the community to remember that's there.
Yeah,
So
that's
they'll
good.
mention that to it. FAC is our finance committee that meets monthly to look at our financial transactions. We'll work closely with Justin to know that we're continuing to be on track. And then the Elizabeth Education Foundation, I know Mary has been our liaison. So that is our one foundation that raises money to support the district, and it's been nice to have a board member represented on it. So, is that okay?
Yeah.
So, think about it, if there's one that interests you, let me know. When will we have dates?
The dates are on the sheet.
The dates are
on
on
this
there,
one.
okay.
Yeah, so this was.
Except for the CRC, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so TAC is not next, but the week after, September 10th.
CAC is? No.
TAC.
Oh, TAC.
CAC is next.
Here we go.
Oh, my gosh.
TAC is next week, the 2nd, and TAC is the 10th. So that's in the afternoon.
And that's, they're all very important. They are all very important. But I just want to point out that it was from TAC that we received the request for the cell phone policy. And so that's the kind of, one of the kinds of things that comes through that, and just concerns of the teachers. And Adam Payton runs that, and he does an excellent job with that. And he really tries to get representation from everybody, so it's good.
We would like to get some board Q&As on the calendar also, so we'll be throwing out some dates to you in the coming weeks to see chance to have, share with staff your thoughts, ideas of what's happening, and give them a chance to give feedback, ideas, concerns, props, whatever. Those were very successful last year, so I know they'd like to start those again.
Yeah.
So, and that doesn't have to be all 5 of you. In fact, it's probably better if it's not. If it's more than 2, then it's got to be posted. So it could just be 2 of you on each of those. So we've got 4 schools, so obviously you can't do them all, but if there's some dates that will work for you, we'll ask for feedback on that.
And what's the ideal engagement for board involvement on these committees? One or 2?
Having a board member attend.
Just one?
Yeah.
The same one, or?
TAC, we actually split between John and Heather, because obviously both had commitments outside, so they tried to coordinate that one of them would always be there. So there's always that option too, that if there's, you can't make a commitment to it all, but you're willing to try to come to some, then certainly, you know, being having another partner who might be able to attend those that you can't attend would be great. TAC and CAC are probably the most important ones, just from the standpoint that it gives you direct connection to our workforce.
I was able to attend one of the TAC meetings, and I really enjoyed it. It's nice being able to talk to the teachers that are feet on the ground, hear what they've got to say.
So think about it if someone's interested in coming to the first one. Again, before formal assignments of liaison roles, just let us know if the 10th is 3:50 here in this building.
Cool.
Which one provided dinner? I'll go to that one.
And it's usually a very good dinner, and healthy dinner. Healthy, at least in my eyes. We might disagree on that.
That's funny.
Pizza.
No, it's actually, it's usually well cooked, very delicious and healthy options that she does for the TAC, so.
Cool.
I'm allergic.
Because it had healthy.
To healthy options.
Use the H word.
All right, well,
And
with
does
that,
DAC meet in here too? And
I adjourn this meeting at 8:01 p.m.
there you go. Cool.